welcome to the Garden Guru Show. And here we are back with our lovely Sarah Bradshaw, the one and only Garden Guru, and we're going to do the weekly review. We're also outside today, and we're going to do some garden stuff. We're going to look at greenhouses and what's ready to be planted and all sorts of good things. So welcome back to the show, Sarah. So what's up this week?
Wow, this is beautiful. We're right here on the shores of Shuswap Lake. And it's full summer in the garden here. We got daffodils up and
we got
dandelions. The bees are having a heyday on the dandelions and the all heel over in the corner. But yeah, we got a busy week. Today the moon is in the last little bit of the first quarter, and it's in Cancer. So ideal planting time, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at some of your beds and look at what we can actually get in the ground today. This evening, the sun goes into Taurus. Mm-hmm. Then the moon hits that, moving into the second quarter, and tomorrow we will be in Leo. So once we move into Leo, we're not looking at such ideal planting. Right. So tomorrow will be much more about, getting the rest of the weeds out, doing the last of the soil prep, and gearing up for the fact that as soon as we slide into Virgo later in the week, we're going to be in the second quarter. We're going to be in Virgo. Virgo's an earth sign. Sun's in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. This is going to be a prime window for getting any of your root crops in. Right. Okay, so we got a good solid week here of planting and garden prep and the opportunity to take full advantage of it. Our season's a bit early this year, which is why we talk so much about seasonal indicators. Right. Instead of going, it's the first week of of April, we should be doing, or it's the third week of April. And instead, we take a look around, and when we look around your yard, we see things like the daffodils are up. Yeah. Many of the trees are in the very beginning leaf stages. Your fruit trees aren't flowering yet, but they've got, all that new growth.
And the swallows are back.
The swallows are back, yep.
Looking for the nest?
Yep. Robins absolutely everywhere. Dandelions coming up. So, we're in the beginning stages here. We're about 2 or 3 weeks earlier than a lot of years, but it's time to get things going. We're not freezing at night anymore. Yeah. So we can even start looking at transplanting out certain things and getting them going. But yeah, and man, the lake is just beautiful today.
It's just pure reflection. Yeah. I don't know if you can spin the camera easily.
I can.
Yeah. Give everybody a view of this beautiful place where we're overlooking Shuswap Lake, and we're on about 9.5 acres, just about an acre. It gives you an idea what you can do on a small piece of property. As far as production is concerned, little mini orchard and garden beds and flowers.
An acre is a lot more land than people realize until they start working it.
Yeah.
And it gives you a lot of room.
So, your lips. There you go. Yummers.
Gotcha.
Edit that out. Yeah.
We should have just gone the whole show like that.
Leave a little butterscotch chip on her lip.
Yum yum. Yeah. So this is beautiful. I'm looking forward to today's show. We're going to start incorporating a few other things here, and this is the sort of stuff that I really encourage people to sign up for the course so that we can give them a full experience of this. But we're going to have a smattering today. We're going to get you. You're going to be doing some dowsing, and we're going to see what the soil needs. We're going to do some soil testing. We're going to do some actual hands-on stuff on today's show. I'm so excited about that. We're going to have Darlene come over and look at the Paralandra situation, and she'll explain that and more when we get there. So if that's confusing to people, we'll solve that for you.
So really what we're doing is we're using different techniques to to make sure that the beds are energetically are ready to receive the plants.
Yeah.
That's basically what we're doing.
Yeah, and we've got a few things to introduce you to. We have a mycorrhizal transplanting agent, which incorporates the beneficial fungi to create that nice mycorrhizal association between the beds and the plants, and giving people an idea, an opportunity to get out here, and you can't get your hands dirty with us, but you can watch us do it.
That's right, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys have done your opening?
Yep,
You're
we've
good?
done that.
We did our week in review. Where do you want to go to first?
Well, should we start with dowsing?
Yeah, I have to get my pendulum, but yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
What we don't have on those beds, well, we can douse that all out too, what we need to do to the beds.
Yeah.
Says, I really know you've got a muff in your eye. And I'm sure that was for me, not for you.
All right.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So this plant bed has been prepared in the sense that we've just taken the weeds out of it. And then the next step is, well, what do we have to add to this before we plant, or do we have to?
Yeah. So yeah, as Tyson was saying, you can see that they saved the Johnny Jump Ups. That looks like lovage over there.
I'm assuming that is.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we got tulips. So you don't have to rip everything out of a bed to
Roses
prepare
down
it.
this end.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got we pruned those roses up. That's on the course. We showed how to prune roses. So yeah, we've got this bed here, and we actually don't know what it needs or what it doesn't need. And so what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of soil from each zone of the bed so that you've got a nice balance. And some from down here. Okay. Now that's a lot of soil to test, so I'm going to just give it a good shaking up so that we've got it kind of all combined, and then I'm going to get it down to a little bit of soil for testing. Okay, so that's step one, is gathering up the soil.
And we come over to the magic points.
Yeah, and to test these,
Get out of the way, yeah.
okay, so the real reason gardeners wear cotton is because we get wet all the time. Okay, so we've got
Stir sticking in.
yeah, and we kind of want a little bit of settling
Right.
to happen. But okay, so now with the soil test kit, we're going to be testing for a variety of things.
We'll be like the same.
Yeah. So we're going to be testing for a variety of things. We're going to test for nitrogen. And remember, when you're looking at the fertilizers, you've got N, P, and K. Okay, so we're going to be testing for nitrogen. That's your N. Okay, then we're going to test for the potassium, or the phosphorus rather. That's your P. And then you're going to test for potassium. That's your K. This one also gives us the opportunity to test for pH. And pH is really, really important when you're trying to choose what plants to put in a specific area. Blueberries really, really love acidic soil. So if you've got acidic soil, blueberries are a great choice. Not much else likes acidic soil. If you've got really acidic soil, you don't want to be planting your carrots, your parsnips, and your turnips. They're just not going to do well. So it's really important to get an idea of the pH as well. So Okay, so our purple here is the nitrogen test. And what you've got in this soil test kit are these little capsules of color. You open up and sprinkle into your soil test kit. Your soil test. You want to stir that up a bit. So that will give us our nitrogen. Yeah. And then, okay, then this is our P, this is our phosphorus that we're going to do in this.
This is just where you put the water in here, do you think?
Yeah, when you're supposed to, yeah, you siphon out some of the water and put it in there, and then
There's a little chamber here for the water so you can match the color.
oh dear, this looks pretty contaminated here.
At least it didn't get in the plastic, did it?
I don't know. Oh.
We'll do our best. I'll go ahead of you and things ready.
Yeah, this one doesn't, this phosphorus test bag doesn't want to open for me.
Well, let's move on.
Oh, here we go. Got it. Got it. Okay. Find an uncontaminated blue capsule. I think indeed I can. There we go. That's in there. And got the orange one. Okay, so this is our potassium or our potash capsule. And then last but not least is the pH test. Okay. I don't have anything to siphon this out with. Yeah.
Alright, you just get it in there, right?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll get
Just
Yeah.
any closed cylinder.
What was that?
Any, like a pen, the inside of a pen or something like that.
Yeah,
Or the outside of a
yeah.
pen.
Turkey baster.
Ah!
Okay. So. Well, yeah, I think I can be able to do this. Okay. It's not showing much color, so I'm going to use another capsule. Yeah. Yeah, these have had a little bit of heat damage done to them. A little lid on. Shake it up. Yeah, I am. It's kind of hard because the water's murky, but we're in about this, this between deficient, yeah, and depleted. So it needs nitrogen. Absolutely sure it needs nitrogen. Okay, so then this blue one. See how we do with it. These are really badly degraded, so I'm just going to dump some in. Hope for the best on that. Yeah, it's pretty depleted. It's, well, we got sort of a bluish tinge to it. No, I'm not seeing any blue in that at all. So I would take that to mean that we're pretty depleted in phosphorus.
I think we can jump to the foregone conclusion.
We need to add to the soil.
Yes, we absolutely.
We need to add.
Yeah, and yeah. Oh shoot, wrong side.
That's our pH one.
Yeah, this is the pH one. I don't know where it slid out of. Oh, there it is. There we go. There we go. So, yeah, we definitely and absolutely must do something with this soil. Okay, and okay. The K deficiency is, yeah, we're deficient in potassium as well. And then last but not least, the pH one. This time I'm going to put the powder in first. Yeah, we actually act like we know what we're doing now. Okay, this is pretty neutral. Okay, it's a little slightly on the acidic side, but by and large it's been pretty neutral.
So let me talk about dowsing. So this is the scientific way of doing it, and it's really good to do it this way to be able to confirm what it is that you could do dowsing, right? So if you were dowsing, we would just take the charts and take a look at them. So, for example, if we did the pH, we just take the chart here with the pendulum, and we say, okay, show me, and this is neutral, right? And it will go to left, yes, like that, right? So I'm just looking at the red, looking at the orange, looking at the yellow, looking at the light green, and we have movement, right? So we're somewhere in here.
Yeah, we're somewhere pretty neutral.
Pretty neutral. Okay, so if we come over here and we look at potassium here, and we look at here, we go P0, nothing, P1, P2, P3, P4. There's absolutely nothing anywhere.
Yeah.
No, it's not even on the chart. Where else?
Yeah,
are we
here's the potassium.
Okay, potassium. So let's see, is it, going up the chart here, I'm in my mind's eye doing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's really nothing.
Okay, and then this would be the nitrogen.
Right. So these charts are very helpful, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, what we'll do is we'll take these and scan them and put them into the course itself, so then you can use them to dowse, right?
Yeah, this would be.
Okay, so this one, there's nothing either. So
Yeah.
this is just a quicker way of doing it once you feel confident. But if you're not confident, it's good to test it with a pendulum, then come back, do the scientific test, and see whether you're getting the good results, okay?
Yeah. So super important that we test, and then you got to decide this. Okay, this bed needs help. It needs absolutely everything. We don't need to adjust the pH on it, thank goodness, so we don't have to worry about that. My first go-to would be this fabulous compost pile down at the bottom end of the garden.
Let's see about that, okay?
Yeah.
So we could actually go and see what we need out of that and whether that is ready to do it and how much we need here. So we can maybe do that by measuring the wheelbarrow, right? How many wheelbarrow loads we need.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go down there. We'll need to move some.
Okay, so you got a 3-bin system going on here, Tyson.
Yeah.
Wanna walk us through what bin does what?
Yeah, well, this is really the coarse stuff, and you can see it's like all the tops of the corn and stuff that are brush-like.
Yep.
That's going to take a longer time to do it, and even the old wicker things, right? And so, really, what the next step for this is, it needs a layer of dirt on top of it.
Okay.
Like, we want to do this like lasagna style, right?
Okay, so you're gonna put a layer of dirt on this and let it cook for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if we come over here, this is somewhat done. If we go in deeper, I like to not to get water soaked, so I put carpet on top. So
Yep.
when we come in here check this, what we do is we just let them.
This is
carpet
genius, by the way. If you have a compost that you can actually get your wheelbarrow right up to, it is wonderful. Oh, look at this, Tyson. This is absolutely beautifully melting down.
It does have to be screened.
Yeah, it
but
does.
It's got wonderful stuff in
But
it.
you see that? It's starting to come. You've still got some big chunks.
And we just take the big
yeah.
chunks up by screening them.
Yeah, but you've got, oh, look at the color and feel of that. That is lovely.
So this is a bigger mess screen. We need it smaller than this, but this gives you the idea. If you want to get a screen about this big, and this is way too big, but you want really narrow mesh, then you put a piece of plywood underneath, right? Support it, and then you just throw it on the screen, and it comes through.
Yep.
And actually, it goes the other way around, like this. So you bring it out of the compost, throw it on here. You've got a piece of plywood underneath here, and you just shovel it in the wheelbarrow.
Yes, absolutely. And another thing that I've done for screens is if you go into a supermarket, sometimes you can get the gigantic heavy-duty plastic bread trays that they bring in the bread in. Well, if they get broken a little on the corners, they want to get rid of them. And they're beautiful. They're heavy-duty. They've got fairly small holes. And I put mine right on top of my wheelbarrow and screen it out, and then the soil's just right there in my wheelbarrow.
Just made me think of something. The milk carton.
Yeah.
Plastic milk ones.
Yes, they work too. They're a little, you can shake them back and forth. They work beautifully. I'm big on that. So this is beautiful.
And then this one is what we're in progress. So, there was a big debate about whether all the weeds from the garden. Last year they went across the road. In my world, every weed gets composted.
Absolutely.
So this is the weed layer here,
Yeah.
right there, and then I put a layer of dirt on top of here, right?
Okay. Yeah. So
And then
again, you'll lasagna it
my
right
lasagna
down.
was ready for another layer of compost, right?
Yep.
If I had some straw, it would go on there, right?
Yep.
So we want green, brown, yellow, green, brown, if you possibly
Yep.
can, right? I mean,
Yep.
the best
Absolutely.
possible world,
Yeah.
right?
And then a nice layer on top. And do you carpet this as well, or do you just wet
I
it
leave
down?
this one pretty much. Michael could water it down, but
Yep.
no, I'd let it. At this stage, I let it cook, right?
Yep.
This way, I leave it open because otherwise, I have to move the carpet back and
Right.
forth.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the beginning stage. This is the big stuff that's going to
This is
take
the
a
really
long
raw
time. Yeah.
stage. This is the
Yeah.
second stage,
Yeah.
I guess.
And then this is your third. And of course, the more you work your compost, the less time it takes to cook it down.
Yeah.
So, moving it back and forth, moving it from bin to bin, sifting it, like everything that you do with your compost to move it around and get things aggregated more and more will just do nothing but speed it up.
And I just remembered I have a tool up there, and I was looking at it, and I thought, what is this tool? And it's actually a little mini compost
Oh, you have a compost turner.
turner,
Yeah.
A little mini one.
Nice.
It goes in, and the two things come out like this, and
Yeah.
then you pull it up.
Yeah, like a little flange.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
and
stick
just
it down, you pull it up,
Pull
and
it
it.
up,
And if you've got one of those contained composters, like
Yeah,
a
we have one of
cone
those.
or a square one,
Yep, we have one up
those
there.
compost turners are absolutely crucial.
Yeah, because it doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah, here you can get into it with a fork or a shovel or something, but in those contained ones you can't. You need that tool that you plunge down and
Yes.
pull back up, and otherwise you can't aerate and your compost just rots.
Yeah, we should actually bring that other one down here so people can see what it looks like.
Yeah,
The plastic
well,
one.
I think we need to do a whole compost shop.
And when I have a lady friend, that's all she does. She has a whole online composting.
Wonderful.
We'll get her on the show.
Wonderful. Yeah, I
Just
think,
compost herself.
yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea. We used to do compost education days
Yeah.
at the CSRD in spring in Salmon Arm, and the turnout was huge, and I think it's a skill that more people would benefit from learning. So,
Yeah.
what I would do with this is I would start with this compost. I would actually probably put on a bed that size, I would probably put about 4 of your little wheelbarrow
Let's
fulls.
check. See,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'd probably use the bigger one because it's easier.
Yep.
So let's see, so 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 would be great.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Yep.
a lot. That'll give you about 3 inches.
Yeah.
So then the question is, do we need to mix it? What do you think?
No. I'm huge on the lasagna method,
Yeah.
where you layer and layer and things go through.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that we have up there by the bed is a mycorrhizal top dresser.
So should that go on first?
That should go on last.
On last.
Okay. So, we would put the wheelbarrow.
Here,
what
big
thing-
wheelbarrow and screen it.
Yep,
So
and
that will be the next show, or will
yeah.
maybe Michael and
I'll just do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the bed's ready for you next time.
Yeah.
oh, you want to get onto it.
Yeah. Now, for we can. Now that we know what we're going to do with that, are we going to have Darlene do anything?
Yeah, we should. Well, we could go look and
Yeah.
we have the same stuff, and Darlene's busy, so let's go look.
Yeah. Okay. So we know we need about 5 wheelbarrows full
Her
of
bed.
finished compost for that bed.
Yeah, for that bed.
Yeah, and then we can plant stuff in
So
it.
we're waiting for this because we need to screen it, and that's going to
Yeah.
take a while.
Yeah.
Turning off.
But we do have things. Okay, so we've got this mycorrhizal top dressing, which is got all sorts of beneficial fungi material in it, and you put it on at the very top. So this bed we would put in our compost, then we could put this in, or we could plant and put this in at the absolute very end. Now you want to ask your pendulum what we should be planting in this. Should we turn this into a Three Sisters bed?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And did you want to do both of them?
Yeah, we can do that.
So I'm just looking at a percentage on 0 to 100. And yeah, we could do that because it's going to take up a lot of room. Corn takes up a lot of room.
And you've got all this that you can spread the squash up
Right.
and around, you know? And what about that bed down there?
Well, let's do this because
Okay.
I think we got to do potatoes, and which needs a big bed. We have to figure that out. As
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
for this stage, when we come back to the next show, we'll talk about a garden map or a layout of the bed, and so that you can record what's going on in each one, right? Each bed, so you have a record. So we'll get that ready for the next show.
Yep.
Also, in the garden course itself, which is the inner circle garden, we're going to be talking about other things. So this is biodynamics, and this is the horns that were planted in the fall, and out of this with cow manure, and this is the product that comes out, right? And then this then goes on, and we put it into a big pail, and we stir it for half an hour, counterclockwise, create a whole energy about it, and then we take the sprayer and we spray it everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the time to do that. So this is one of the biodynamic treatments. We'll be talking about that in the course.
Yeah.
Okay, one other thing we'll be talking about in the course is that we have the Perilander series. This is a soil balancing kit. And we'll come back and see what sort of things the soil wants energetically to be added to it as well. And I don't know, Michael, if you can turn your camera, but we can take the drops or the intention of this and put it into the radionics generator in the well here, and it will broadcast it 24/7 to the garden itself, right? So this is doing energetics in your garden. Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. So here we are in Tyhson's greenhouse, and we're going to get some things going. These are cucumbers. These ones are in little pots. They were started in peat pucks and transplanted into these larger pots. This is what we were showing in a few months back at the very beginning of our shows, how to make a little tube of fabric. This is something that we cover really thoroughly in the gardening course, how to get your own little starts happening and up and running. Now we've got this lovely trellis here that's going to be absolutely fabulous for our cucumbers to go into. So the soil here is a little dry. We're going to put a bit of moisture in. And now these, the beauty of this is I don't have to do anything with that particular plant except get the hole deep enough to accommodate it and just drop it right in. That paper tube that it's in is going to completely dissolve, make fabulous worm food actually, and that plant will just keep right on going. Now, a cucumber plant needs about a square foot or so of space to grow into. So this area is just about ideal for these 3 cucumber plants. Again, when you're doing vine plants like this, and this is why the paper tube is so fabulous, the most fragile part of this plant is the roots, and vine plants do not like to have their roots disturbed. They just don't. It sets them back worse than anything you can do to them. So when you're transplanting from a non-biodegradable container like these pots, please make sure that you have everything ready and so that your handling of the actual plant is at an absolute bare minimum. Okay. Put this one about here. Now, these are going to grow up, which means we're going to have a zone here in front of these plants that we're going to be able to plant with something else. And I'm big on planting as much in a given area as you can get away with. So planting something in that zone there, like maybe some herbs, maybe some nice tender young things that need the heat. But There, you've got your 3 cucumber plants, Tyson, ready to produce cucumbers for you
Them already.
all summer long. Okay, now before we run out of time, we're going to come over here and take a look at this incredible little gizmo here. Okay, this has a hollow tube and a little well all the way around it. And what we do with this is you bury this into the soil here in the greenhouse. We plant the tomato or the pepper or the eggplant right in the center, which means when you're watering into this dish that then dispenses the water into the soil. This means you're never going to spray your tomato plant with water. You're never going to get water spot damage on your eggplant or your pepper. Like they don't like being sprayed that much. So this is ideal. It also allows you in a greenhouse situation to put enough water in there for a day or two. And anybody who's run, plants in small containers knows how rapidly they dry out. So this is a really wonderful little gizmo. And so what we're going to do is we're going to dig a hole right here. I feel like an archaeologist using my my trowel sideways.
That's right. We'll get a little brush.
I'm usually doing it this way. Okay, I think that's probably deep enough. Okay, so you want that set in rather nicely. And then,
there's dirt right down behind there and a green bag there.
right, yes, I knew we had a bag of dirt.
Actually, that's the compost, I think, and then there's dirt is behind there.
Yeah.
We bought you a couple more bags the other day.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, so that's compost there in this bag.
Yep.
Okay, well let's give it, tomatoes they're heavy eaters, they like to eat a lot, so let's give it.
And I just found out from Coop's garden that he uses goat manure.
Uh-huh.
The reason he does is because it is seed-free.
Yes.
And I didn't know that.
Yes. The Enderby Garden Club has a goat manure sale every year.
Ah.
And very, very popular. Okay. Okay. So now we can pop this tomato. Look at those roots.
Wow.
You see that root system there? Isn't that beautiful?
That's gorgeous.
Yeah. So we'll put this little guy right there, like that. Now don't be afraid to bury your tomatoes really deeply. That's the original little 2 leaves that came off of the seed. Okay, you can bury it right that deep.
Wow.
You can, everything on a tomato stem that goes underwater will become a root.
Oh, neat.
Okay, and so now,
That holds a lot of water.
see how slick that is? You're never going to flood out a baby plant doing that. You're not going to pour water on it and you wash all that fresh new soil away. It'll absorb that water, and there you go.
So are we ready for composting?
Pretty much.
All right.
Yep, we can start watering with compost tea. Everything needs a little bit of food.
How are we doing for time?
Oh, we're back, and we're just going to talk a bit about the Calandra series here. And this is a box, like a little goodies that you received. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vials in here. They look like this, right? And There's sort of like wizardy 101 in your garden. The thing about this is that it's, as she says, and this is Michelle Wright, who does the Polandria garden, and she makes amazing essences that you can use for healing. A lot of rose essences. She's really into rose. Of course, the rose is a very powerful plant. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject that we can get into. But, you know, the things that the garden loves is, like here is kelp, comfrey, nitrogen, tan here, green sand, dolomite, which I really like to use, cottonseed, rock phosphate, and bone meal. Now, some of these things are fairly easy to get. Like for dolomite, we had to go to Rockcrete and haul it in by the bag. And for bone meal, you can buy it at the local store. But some of these are not so easy to get. So you can do it energetically. And this is what's really nice about these little vials here. So say, here's the green sand. You would douse and see, does this bed need green sand? And if it does, how much does it need? Now, what I'm going to do, and I'll show you how to do this with the radionics machine, is I would say, using this vial, how long should I broadcast the energy in this vial to my garden? And it would tell me. Then I'm going to go out in the radionics machine, open it up, put the copper around here, and broadcast this and time it out. And then I will know that it's got the right amount in the garden. So I would do this energetically. I'm sure there's other ways to do it where you actually could maybe mix this with water and use it, with droppers to use it homeopathically in the garden. But I think I'd want to keep the container and just put copper around it and use the broadcasting it by intention. So have you ever had a chance to use any of these magic things?
Very similar things. And you know what's really important is the energetics of the garden and of the plants. Like rose is a very universal, high vibrational healer. So it's going to magnify almost anything that you use. You can achieve amazing results with invoking energy by using a small amount of the compound, like you suggested, homeopathically, pictures of it, visualizations of it. Like what's important more than anything is actually engaging the energy. It's very much the root of this system, and it's kind of the bones of biodynamics.
Exactly.
You're engaging the earth energies, and when you engage the energies, you're opening up the invitation to all of the elementals, all of the energies in the area.
All the fairies and all.
Oh yeah, all of them. Yeah,
and even the grumpy ones, right?
Oh yeah, and it's good to keep in mind whenever you're working energetically that not everything is out working for the human agenda.
Right.
That's
really true.
That when you're engaging with the energies and working with them, you'll get magical results, but they might not be exactly what you predicted, and you might find that the spillover affects not just your environment, but there's a whole ripple effect. Yeah. And so you're doing much more calling in the energies than just getting out there fertilizing the garden.
Absolutely. And I know that Patrick McMahon club. So if you want to join that at the highest level, you'll get to listen to Patrick McManaway talk about how to work with elementals in your garden. And the results he was getting was a 30% increase in productivity, both in the vegetable kingdom and in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
So it works, and it's exciting, and it's fun.
And in a natural biodynamic farm, a complete biodynamic system, the entire farm, the entire unit is treated like an independent ecosystem in and of itself. So you're careful about what you bring in. Yeah. You're cautious about what you export. You know that what you're basically doing is working towards sustainability within this particular framework. And you can only do that if you actually invest energetically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one thing that you were saying, which is really true, is elementals really don't know what a garden is. I mean, they're interested in maintaining a natural landscape. So what is a garden? It's not a natural landscape. So you really have to sort of sit down with the elementals and say, hey, this is a garden and we're trying to produce food for humans to raise people's consciousness. And maybe they, in raising their consciousness, they'll understand more about how to work with you, because elementals want to work with humans. That's their natural tendency. So you have to explain to them what it is that you're trying to do, and then they get excited.
Yeah. And you have to take them into account and provide habitat, just like you have to provide habitat for your toads and your snakes and, all those other things that are going to be part of your garden ecosystem. You know, you have to provide for them. You have to give them little shady places to survive, sources of water. You have to provide for the birds. You have to look after the needs of the insects and the pollinators. I mean, your yard right now is alive with all those early bees feasting on the dandelions and the allheal, and they're going to go right from that to your fruit trees.
Right.
And, so when you're creating this environment that says, yes, come and live in my lovely little spot. We have room for you. We have room for you. We have room for you. The elementals will take part in that. There's no point trying to run a human agenda of achievement or profit when you're working with these elementals. Like there isn't.
They'll laugh at you.
Yeah. Well, they don't get it. Like, what's money?
Yeah, right.
We got sun, we got berries, we got a place to lay down. Everything's lovely. What's money?
Yeah,
why do I care?
Yeah.
So if they know that you're friendly towards the things that they see as essential, because believe me, you may not know the value of a spider, but the elementals and your garden know the value of that spider.
Absolutely.
To you, that rubber boa might be a scary, yucky snake, but to your garden, that's what's keeping the baby moles and voles from eating everything. That's what is making nice little tunnels under the ground for the transmission of water and air, and so you've got to be open to housing those. It's why I don't think it's a good idea to spray poisons everywhere.
No.
You want to encourage life in your garden, and this encourages life. Yeah,
it really does. And you just brought up the thought that, I'm thinking, I think it's time to cut the lawn, which my human mind consciousness. But, we were out there and the dandelions are just full of all the bees. And if I went and cut their grass, they would have no dandelions, right? Yeah. So, so smarten up.
Yeah. No, don't do anything to those dandelions, but let the bees feast on them.
Yeah.
All those insects are hatching. The ones that hibernated away for the winter, they're coming out. They're looking for food sources. There's not a lot out there yet.
Yeah.
We used to have willow scrub everywhere. Well, we've cleared it to plant what we think are prettier trees and lawns and that. So, when we take away their natural food, the least we can do is let them feast on our volunteer dandelions.
Right. Wow, that's exciting. So, the other thing we wanted to bring into is we want to do some stuff around biodynamics. I don't know how we have the time on this show, but certainly if you just want to hand that over, this is this could be one of the horns. So this is one of the easiest biodynamic ways to do this, right? And this is from a female, and she has had to be lactating. And so you need, and preferably from an organic farm. And hopefully they're not slaughtered, or if they are, they're done with loving kindness. Then you take raw manure and you stuff it in here, right? And you fill it up. Then I take it out to my compost pile because I like to do it in my compost. And you dig it in about a foot down. And I think I have 3 of them, which I use. And that's more than enough. And then I have a container that's just full of the material that then I mix in a big bucket. It's a huge bucket. And you stir it with a willow counterclockwise, and that aerates it in energetics. And if you know anything about the deep clearing protocol, which Michael teaches and I teach and Darlene, it's creating a vortex energy and it's imbuing it with clearing energy. So it's clearing the landscape of all the non-beneficial energies bringing in the livening spirit. And when you spray that on the land, it just like activates everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And with biodynamics, there's this whole component of the number of times you stir the
Yes.
compounds, the direction. And although that sounds, hocus pocusy in a lot of ways, you're engaging energy, you're investing
Right.
your time, you're investing your energy into this compound. And I used to make soap, and a friend of mine said one time, no wonder your soap's so good, you spend hours pouring the love in and stirring it in.
Well, isn't it the same with bread?
And
It's kneading the bread, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing. You're engaging your energy. So rather than seeing it as another thing to do, it's another opportunity to become in communion with your
Right.
garden and your land.
Right. Well, there's one more thing, and I don't think we have time today, but we're going to talk about Agnihotri, which is East Indian, and it has to do with fire ceremony with the rising sun, and using either cow manure, or some of them use a wood. We then take the ash and we powder it up, and again we then spray it on the land. So both at sunrise and at sunset is the energetics that go through the fire. Of course, the fire element is activation, and when you spray it on the garden, it activates everything and helps it grow. All right.
Yeah, one of the other things when you mentioned fire, I remembered that one of the simplest biodynamic techniques to incorporate is that when you're clearing out a weed, like foxtail springs to mind, or hawkweed, there's no known use for it, really invasive. What you do after you clear out the weeds is you burn them, and then you take the ashes and you sprinkle it around the areas where it was growing.
Yeah.
This is sending a really clear energetic message to the plant in the area that this plant is not really desired here. And very often, just a couple of years of this, and you can clear up pretty persistent patches of, quote, noxious weeds.
Yeah, another way to do that is to do the ash and then put it into little jars and put it in the radionics machine.
Yes.
So you'd have one for this,
Yeah.
and one for that,
Yeah.
and one forever, and you can just keep using them if they show up, right?
Yeah, that would really heighten it, take it to a whole different level.
Yeah. So we're going to do another little show for the course on how to set up the radionics machine. It's really not that complicated, but boy, is it ever powerful in your garden, right?
Yeah, well worth the time. Take you less than an afternoon and you're done.
You're done, yeah. And you can use it forever and ever. Well, I don't know how we're doing time-wise. We haven't heard from the master behind the show there.
Mm-hmm. Must be. At the top of the hour. So remember that what we did today is just a tiny little taste of what we cover in the entire course. We put together videos almost every single week, walking you through the garden year, step by step by step. You can consult with us privately, phone up, send me a message, ask your particular questions, get the insight. We really do want to help you garden like a guru so you can grow all your own food.
Nothing better than tasty, good food from your own garden, where it's going to ripen at the right time for you to eat it, which gives you the best nutrient value at the right moment. What could be better than that?